Dr. Richard Roberts was a primary care physician in the UK, and then he was asked to lead a church small group. Reluctantly, he agreed. Well, before long, Richard began to focus on ministry, and since then, he's never looked back.
From medical doctor to accidental church planter, Richard Roberts has dedicated his life to serving others and serving Christ. As a charismatic leader in the United Kingdom, his focus is seeing the fulfillment of Jesus' prayer for unity, found in John 17. To that end, Dr. Roberts is working with other ministry leaders to build rapport between the Catholic and new charismatic churches.
Please welcome to the 700 Club, Dr. Richard Roberts. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you very much.
You grew up in a non-religious home. How did you come to a place of faith for yourself personally?
Right. Well, initially I was interested in Eastern religion. But before I joined an Eastern religion, I decided I'd look into Christianity. And I read the Bible and came across a verse in John's Gospel and decided that Jesus was the Lord of life.
Wow.
And I prayed and had an experience of the presence of God in my bedroom. And that's how I became a Christian. I didn't know anything, but that was my
Sometimes
entry.
Ignorance is a good place to start when the Holy Spirit's leading you, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So you were called an accidental church planter. What does that mean, and how did that happen for you?
Well, it means that it was never in my life plan. I was a primary care physician, and that's how I saw my life progressing. But we seemed to gather people in our home in a small village in the UK, in a very rural area, and that grew and grew, and so eventually we grew into a church.
And not just a church planter, but also a bridge builder. You're a bridge builder between the Charismatics and the Vatican. Talk about that. How did that come to be?
Yes, well, the Vatican has a whole department dedicated to Christian unity. You know, Jesus' last prayer was that we should be one, and they take that very seriously. So they have a department that's dedicated to understanding other Christian traditions and focusing on what we have in common. So I've got friends who've been involved with charismatic Catholics for a long time, and they brought me into it.
Richard, why do you think it's so hard for us to be unified? I mean, I guess Jesus, that was the last challenge, and it came with lots of wonderful promises, but why do we struggle with that so much?
Well, I think there are a lot of different factors, but it's much easier to say what separates us than what we have in common. And if you look at society today, in the UK, in the USA, people are increasingly polarized, and we tend to get our identity from our group. We tend to be quite tribal. And of course, Jesus' last prayer, his longest prayer, his dying wish, was to break down those tribal mentalities.
What are some of the things that separate us?
Well, I think we have different approaches to certain things. Obviously, with Catholic Church, there's the place of the Catholic hierarchy, Mary, and those sorts of things. But a lot of it's misunderstanding. So when we get to know each other, we find that we're really talking about the same thing, even if we use different language. And because when we get to know each other more, then that knowledge can seriously damage our ignorance.
So relationship has a lot to do with leaping over that gap.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that we have in common?
Well, we believe in the Trinity. We believe Jesus is the Son of God. We believe that the cross ended the division between man and God. And we believe that we are saved by grace through faith. That's official Catholic doctrine. We believe that the Bible's very important. And we believe in the power of the Holy Spirit.
If charismatics and the Catholic Church could come together in unity, what are some of the things we could accomplish?
Well, I think we could accomplish a tremendous amount. You see, when Jesus prayed that last prayer that we should be one, he said it was so that the world might know that you have sent me. So if we take evangelism seriously, if we want the world to know that God really can reconcile all things to himself, then we need to be reconciled to one another as a living demonstration that the gospel is powerful. But on top of that, we can, of course, do a lot for the poor, a lot for the homeless, a lot for the hungry.
So it really begins with getting to know each other.
It does. It is relational.
Yeah. As so many things in life are, boy, there never was a time in the world in my lifetime where we more needed to find that unity that Jesus prayed for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So happy for the work you're doing. Thank you for sharing with us today, and thank you for what you do.
It's my pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you here. If you'd like to find out more information, again, go to cbn.com. It's all on our website.